see the photo? Who wants to see the photo? Who wants to see the photo? What a large, 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 large room. Oh my. How much mischief can I start this evening? And I see James O'Keefe in the front row. My adrenaline starts flowing when I see that young gentleman. What do you have up your sleeve, Mr. O'Keefe? I'm so happy I didn't go through the traditional conservative movement. I'm so glad that I didn't go through Washington, D.C. I'm so glad that nobody gets to tell me what I can or cannot do. And I think that's why so many of us now find ourselves in the Tea Party. Because the Republicans screwed up everything. If you can't sell freedom and liberty, you suck. And by suck, I mean you suck. Profoundly, irrationally. Never understood that. I just don't understand that. I mean, it is the lifeblood of humanity, freedom and liberty, and the Republicans make it so boring. And I'm transferring my allegiances. I started off kind of as a liberal, not really. I was from Los Angeles, super shallow liberal. I admit it, I'm from LA. I still am shallow. Don't anyone think otherwise. It is part of the experience out there. And I've transferred my allegiances. I remember, everybody probably knows this, but I listened to the Clarence Thomas hearings, and then I juxtaposed that he was the worst man in the history of the world, and I believe Anita. And then a year later, the same people said, but Bill Clinton's the greatest man in the history of the world and a feminist without peer. And I'm like, huh? And that was like, that epiphany was like, bam! I was like, something's wrong here. Something's wrong here. I've got to figure it out. And I was like, okay, fine. Maybe I'm a libertarian. Maybe and I didn't even know what that meant, but I just was like, I don't want to be in the crowd of people that I believe Anita bumper stickers while they were defending that James Carville was saying you drag a $50 bill through a trailer park, you never know what you're going to get. And then I'm like, whoa, what's going on? Pubic hair on a Coke and having state troopers go up to sorority houses every Friday night and having a cavalcade. I don't get this juxtaposition. And it's so weird that those two events turned me into this freak. I'm like, I literally talk about it. I say to my wife, you remember when I was like a waiter and I was lighthearted and I used to go to movies? I don't do that anymore. My goal is to take down the institutional left now. And it really, I really did think that I was an idealist when I thought I was liberal, and I was like, I'd wake up in the morning, I'd go, I'm for the children. Well, I didn't wake up in the morning at that point in my life. The morning was about 3 in the afternoon. I go, I'm for the environment. I'm against war. I'm inherently good. And that was it. I told you I was shallow. I was so unbelievably, blissfully shallow. And then I just started to have these epiphanies that awakened me. And it was the media that became my obsession. Because I was like, they're the ones. I grew up, I've watched every episode of Alice 4 times. And it's not even that good of a show. And I started to realize, how did I become such a flaming, de facto, factory-setting liberal? And it was because all I did was watch TV at MTV, and they just told me, you're for the environment, and you're for the children, and you're for the women, and you're for the children, and you're for the minorities. I'm like, I don't even have to wake up till 3 in the afternoon, and I'm great. I'm just great. You just show up and just go, I'm liberal. I gave it the office. I don't have to lift a finger to make humanity better. All I have to do is run around and say I'm a liberal, and that's all Hollywood is. I figured that out. Boy, am I smart. I figured that one out. Another thing happened to me that the seeds were planted. And I remember, I'm from Los Angeles, okay? And I went to a fancy private school, and I just remember everybody saying the people in flyover country were stupid. And the movies and the television that I saw reflected that they had a contempt for middle America. And I remember coming back to my friend Christian's great Thanksgiving and Christmas parties, and they were Hollywood filled, and actors and actresses, and it was like, you go to school in like New Orleans, like what's it like with all those freaky people from flyover country? And I just remember, I've met them, they're from Alabama, nice families I've met them from my roommates from Georgia, totally awesome family, and I was like, the American people are being maligned by not just Hollywood, but by Katie Couric and Peter Jennings and his lovely former girlfriend, like Hasnan Aswari, whatever her name was, a Palestinian gal. And I was like, I started to go, it's the media. It's the media that's the problem. I'm not worried about former Congressman Jim Wright and his book scandal. I'm not worried about Nancy Pelosi and Steny Hoyer. I'm worried about the mainstream media. I call it the Democrat media complex. It's the natural alliance of the mainstream media, liberal interest groups, and the Democratic Party. It's just a natural force of life that a center-right nation, a 2-to-1 ratio of conservatives to liberals, according to Gallup, has to deal with every single day. So when I met this Drudge guy in 1995, I had nothing better to do to latch on for dear life. And I started to watch. I started to become part of this, what we now know to be the new media in 1995. And every single story that was broken, every single story had to withstand the absolute weight of ABC, CBS, and NBC, and CNN, and all the newspapers of you're guilty until proven innocent. The Republicans and the conservatives are the bad guys, and the Democrats are for the environment, for the children. I'm like, oh my God, I remember when I was on that team and how many benefits I got from it, and I was waking up at 3 in the afternoon, and I wasn't really contributing to society in any appreciable way. And now that I'm starting to see it the other way, it's like constantly swimming upstream. So I remember watching when Drudge broke the Lewinsky story, and that was a slam dunk. It just was. I was like, okay, he's caught the President of the United States. He's got, Wienergate was pretty salacious, but I'm talking cigars and an intern here, okay? We're all like smarting this week because of a wiener and a wiener. I'm talking cigars, presidencies, intern. That's the Bermuda Triangle of pornography. So I just remember watching that Matt had the slam dunk to end all slam dunks, but then the President of the United States decided to lie. He lied, and he lied to everyone. He lied to the country, he lied to his cabinet, he lied to the mainstream media, and I remember an important moment in that. And my new buddy, Matt Lauer, just hung out with him on the Today Show about a week and a half ago. We're totally close now. Matt, we're going to hang out, right? Let's go to Sag Harbor together. And I remember Matt Lauer did his job. And I like to be I like to be mostly sticks, but I do have a few carrots in my back pocket. And Matt Lauer did do his job in January of 1998 when he said to Hillary Clinton, you know, there are these crazy accusations out here about your husband and the intern and the lying under oath and all that type of stuff. And is it true? And Hillary Clinton said, it's not true. She said, well, if it were true, he offered the hypothetical. If it were true, what do you think? She says, well, it's not true. He goes, I understand where you're coming from, but if it were true, this is a hypothetical. And she says, but it's not true. He said, but if it were true, and like for, I don't know, like 6 times back and forth, if it were true. And she's like, oh, of course it would be serious if it were true. And then I watched what happened. The lie bought time. And it bought time for the mainstream media to spend 8 months to try and figure out how to put Humpty Dumpty's back together again. And it weirdly did. And I watched how they manipulated language, they manipulated polls, they used the full weight of Vanity Fair and Esquire magazine and a very sophisticated strategy to turn the conservatives into panty sniffers. That they were just obsessed with the president's sex life, not that it had anything to do with it. He was intimidating witnesses, telling Monica that he had to tell Linda Tripp to lie under oath. They decided to say, what dirt do we have on Linda Tripp to shut her up? Well, let's just make fun of her looks. I'm like, okay, this is our media. I used to think that they were biased, but then we started to head into a territory. I was like, this is evil. This behavior that they're doing against Kathleen Willey, the women. Anita Hill, I believe Anita Hill, the bumper sticker. I believe Kathleen Willey. I was like, I believe her. I believe, why would she lie? She was a huge Democratic fundraiser. I believe Juanita Broderick. I believe all of these women. There's a consistency here to this guy's behavior, yet the mainstream media is covering up for him. And they created a mechanism by which they simply split the country, which is what the left does. Critical theory, it's in my book. You got to buy it. It's the best book ever. Well, actually, it's not. It's not. David Mamet's book, The Secret Knowledge, is written better than mine on basically the same subject matter. Kind of sucks, but he's David Mamet. Oh, well. And I watched how the media took this slam dunk and put it back through the hoop. Thank you very much, people that help me when I'm in speeches and I'm at a loss for words. And I said, okay, something has to be done about this. Something has to be done about this imbalance of power. The fact that this is a center-right nation and this mainstream media, this allegedly neutral and objective group of people, oh, indeed they are, based out of New York and Los Angeles, where I have an apartment and a house, thank you. I'm bi-coastal, I'm hip, and I'm shallow. I know what you're up to. I go to your cocktail parties, and I hear your contempt for people from Middle America. Don't tell me you're neutral. So my entire business model is based upon A, having no money, and B, having the resources of the American people who I became friends with in the Monroe dormitory at Tulane University because they were nice. Their parents were nice. Their friends were nice. And I went back to Los Angeles. I go, these people are nice. You need to stop maligning them. You got to stop maligning them. And I said, okay, to hell with it. I'm going to go to war against my neighbors. It's the most awkward thing. I still live there, and I show up at like kids' parties with moon bounces, and I'm standing off to the side, and people are glaring at me, and I'm like, I'm going to go after you. I have pictures, weird pictures that people have sent me of you, so don't come up to me. I'm going to stand over here. Don't bother me. So anyway, everything I needed to learn, I learned during the Clinton